Hey guys, welcome to the shop. We are in the process of a new build and I'm pretty excited about it. It is you ready for it? Bow and arrow, like, pew, pew, bow and arrow. Yeah, definitely really cool. And I was asked to build one, and I figure if I'm gonna build one, I might as well make three, because who doesn't want more bows? So if you don't know anything about bows, here's just a quick primer. There are a few different types. You've got compound bows, recurve bows, long bows, self bows, laminated, takedown bows, so all kinds of different types. I'm making a very simple version, which is essentially like a longbow. So think like old English style archery. It's essentially just made of a long piece of wood that then gets a handle shaped in the middle and the string goes on either end. So depending on how you make it, a lot of bows, for example, this is my actual bow. This is a Takedown Recurve. It's called a recurve because it has a curve, and when you string it, then it gets another curve added to it, so it's recurved. I don't know. But this is a laminated bow, and what that means is that you have wood here in the middle, this light stuff, and then on the outside you have an extra lamination of fiberglass in this case. Now the reason they have that is for added strength and durability and flexibility. So when you have wood that is maybe not ideal for bow making or not as strong or as flexible as you'd like, you reinforce it with a lamination. So that's actually what I'm going to be doing with these bows. Now I'm going to be trying a few different types of reinforcements for these bows just to kind of see what works here. And I should point out that none of these bows are going to be used for hunting, and the draw weights on them are going to be relatively low. I think I'm doing 25 pounds for the two larger ones, and I have a smaller one that's going to be about 15 pounds. So the pressure being put on them is not really significant as it would be for something like hunting that is typically 40 pounds or higher. So the stresses on it should hopefully be a lot less, so you could be a little bit more forgiving with what you use as a backer. So on the first one, this is the smallest one. I'm actually going to leave this one bare just to see how it works. It should be only a 15-pound draw weight, so I'm hoping that that's really not going to be enough to damage the wood or do any kind of irreplaceable damage to it. On one of them, I'm going to try using some canvas. So I've just got basically painter's cloth that I cut strips of, and we're going to glue that onto the back in multiple layers. And when they get sandwiched together, they do actually form a pretty substantial bonded material that is going to act as a flexible but strong backer for this bow. For the last one, I'm going to try out an idea that I got from another bow maker on YouTube, Kramer Ammons. He's got a lot of really good content, so you should check him out. I'm going to try rawhide. So rawhide is obviously a natural material. It's essentially like an unprocessed leather, but it's very strong, very durable, and very flexible. But it's not the cheapest thing, so a very cheap alternative is actually rawhide dog bones, like these. So what I did was, if you've ever played with them, you know that people don't play with rawhide dog bones. If you've ever held one or touched one, you know that they're pretty stiff and they're really tough. So what I did was, overnight, I soaked it in a bucket of water, and I kind of every couple hours I checked it and started to loosen them up a little bit and untie the knots, and what you end up with is basically this loose, floppy piece of leathery stuff. Yeah, this is gross, but it works. And after a while, you can pretty much take the whole thing apart. And what you have here is essentially untreated, unprocessed leather. So what I'm going to do is unwrap all of these. I had about 3 of the dog bones. I may not even need all of them because I'm honestly just going to cut these into 1.5-inch strips, and then that will get glued onto the back of the bow, and we'll wrap that tightly and let that dry. So I'm going to go ahead and take these apart and cut these. This is by far the grossest thing I've ever done for woodworking and for science, but someone's got to do it, so here we go. Well, that was interesting. Some things I will say, this is some tough stuff. I had to cut really, really hard with my sharpest blade, and it was still struggling a little bit. But because this is not the highest quality rawhide, I will say there are some inconsistencies with the thickness of the rawhide. So like in some sections it's definitely thicker, and then it gets a little bit thinner, but again, this isn't going to be, it doesn't have to withstand the super high forces of like a 40, 50, 60, 70 pound bow. So I think just what's here already should be pretty substantial for what we're doing. So I did end up having to use about 1.5 of those bones, because a lot of it is unusable, a lot of the edges. So what we're going to do is I'm going to lay down a lot of basically just wood glue, let that get a little tacky, put down another coat, and then we'll start laying these down over top of that. And then once we have everything in place, we're going to take just a regular like ace bandage, and we're going to wrap it tightly around there. We're going to let that cure, because it's going to be almost impossible to get this stuff to lay flat on here unless you wrap it somehow. So that should be it for that one. We're going to go ahead and get all the glue on here and wrap that up. And then for the canvas bow, it's a similar process. You're putting glue down, you're putting the canvas down, put glue down, canvas. So I'm going to do about 4 layers of that. And that I will just take another piece of wood, put some like cellophane tape or packing tape on one side, and clamp it down just to keep it nice and tight. And then we'll just let those cure for a day or two until all that glue dries, and then we can start working on the shape of the bow. So that's it for the rawhide on the bow. Just a few things that I noticed. I did have to, really stretch it out to kind of flatten it out a little bit, but it will shrink as it dries. So anywhere that there was a joint with 2 pieces, I did try and overlap it. I'm not sure how much it's going to shrink, so hopefully I'll still have a little bit left over, and I can either cut that back or sand it to make those seams nice and flush. But this actually worked out really well. It's holding it on really tight. The bandage itself is good because it allows moisture to come out, so it'll allow the rawhide to dry as well as the glue to cure. So I'll just let this sit for a couple days, and we'll come back to it when it's all done. So next up is the cloth backing on the other bow. Alright, so that takes care of the canvas bow. I put about 4 layers on. It did take a lot of glue, which is good. It means that the canvas is absorbing all that, and when that dries, it's going to form a nice stiff layer that's still flexible enough to take the flexing of the bow. We've got the rawhide one all wrapped up here, ready to go. So we'll wait a couple days for these to dry. Then we can take all the stuff off, and then finally start shaping the bow and start getting it to the right draw weight and draw length. Side note, if anybody has any use for some wet, floppy rawhide, I've got plenty to go around, so let me know. Thanks guys, take care.